I just wanted to obviously welcome you to our latest webinar, which is evolving around Censornet. So I'll just go through a few little things with you. So I'm your host. My name is Danny Boyle. I'm the sales manager here, obviously, as most of your people will know. Anybody else, feel free to reach out to me if you need any type of questions at all. We've got David Tregurtha, who is sales engineer over from Censornet. David, do you want to introduce yourself? Say hello.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. As Danny mentions there, Dave Tregurtha. So I'm one of the sales engineers, system engineers at Censornet. Been with the organisation for about just over 5 years now. So kind of seen the growth of the organisation, the platform evolve over the years. But really good to have the opportunity to talk to everybody today.
Brilliant. And finally, but not last, we've got Tony from Octree Limited, who's the managing director there. He is a Censornet user and customer and has been for quite a while. Tony, once again, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm one of you, so I'm on your side, so nothing too tricky for me. I've been in this business now 30 years, and it's been quite an evolution. I've been specifically focusing in security now for 12, 13 years. So hopefully I'll be able to add something to the party in a nutshell.
No, that's exactly what you're here for, just to give obviously any of our partners a little bit of a lowdown as to what you're experiencing on the ground running, what you face up against, what your challenges, what you overcome, and just get a little bit of a general know-how as to why Censornet is a good chosen product for you. Okay, so we have got some rules. So everyone is going to be muted just for audio quality. It just turns into like a zoo if everybody's not muted. So it's a wise decision that we all need to make. We are going to allow chats throughout. We're not the type of webinar hosters who, I don't even know if that's a word, apologize, but we're not the type of hosts, there we go, where we save everything to the last. So if you've got any type of questions at all that is on your mind, put it into the chat box. Make sure you put it to everybody. And then as me, Tony and David will see it, we'll do our best just to answer them as and when we go on. So yeah, not to least, with Censornet, this is obviously one of the nice key roles. So with the world today, especially, it's getting massively more difficult to understand exactly what customers' needs are. They might exactly know what they want, but they just can't afford it due to budgeting requirements or the dreaded word COVID, which we've all heard of. But that being said, cyber attacks are dramatically up in numbers, but overall the money is down. Now, Tony, from your perspective, what have you noticed during COVID when it comes to, is it a lot harder to get customers to say yes, even though they know and you know that they need it?
It depends on the verticals that you're actually targeting or addressing. A lot of industries, such as manufacturing, have suffered significantly through this pandemic, with sales significantly reduced and therefore budgets significantly reduced. Our specific focus is in professional services, which hasn't been as badly hit, particularly on the financial services side of things. I suppose it depends how compelling an argument you put forward, because you can't stop. I mean, security, like the virus itself, it doesn't stop depending on conditions. I mean, the cybersecurity risks and the threats have grown significantly. Ransomware and email-borne threats significantly, and so you can't stop investing. So you have to invest wisely. And that's one of the things we've been able to do with Censornet.
Yeah, I couldn't mirror that anymore. Like, especially with all of the partners that I deal with on a regular basis, and the majority of them now. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. The majority of them now are, rather than focusing on a whole portfolio of products, it's finding the one that's going to get your foot through the door. we as a obviously as a distributor have got about 4 or 5 straight away under our belt, which we know has worked, and what we've seen is Censornet exactly follows that pattern. Now, David, why do you think like Censornet is being highlighted as one of the routes to market when it comes to customers, like letting customers know that this is something that they should be aware of before any other product?
Yeah, well, I think it's touching upon what you've just talked about there, really, and Tony as well. I think certainly, in the last 8 or 9 months, we've seen this even more. But for organisations, it's about maximising the resources that you have, getting the most value from what you have. We know that budgets are tight. People, the skills are tight, as they have been. So it really is all about, where can we add value? Where can we maximise the resource that an organisation has? And I think if you look at where Censornet have come from, the ethos behind us as an organisation, the kind of the idea, the concept behind our platform, and this idea of consolidation, it's designed very much to maximise the value, of an organisation, not just commercially, but technically as well. And I'm sure we'll cover off a number of those things as we go on.
Yeah, definitely. I just need to apologise, guys. I've got a little bit of a dry throat, so I promise it's not a COVID cough. I am living alone anyway, so it doesn't matter, but I've got a little bit of a dry throat. So if you hear me coughing, I apologise. We will edit it out. But yeah, so I wanted to go back to Tony. Now, obviously, this is a product that you've used quite heavily. And before we go into the technical like ins and outs with David, I wanted just to give you 5 minutes, just ask you little keys, like what is it that you highlighted as why did you choose Censornet, what like problems you came up against, what objections you had, and how you handled that.
Well, to be honest, we stumbled across Censornet at InfoSec 4 or 5 years ago now. One of my biggest bugbears in this industry is when you talk to vendors, the majority of vendors, security vendors, are really only after the corporate sector. And we've spoken on numerous occasions to various vendors, particularly on the filtering and CASB side of things, such as people like Zscaler, and they all have minimum license requirements, minimum revenue requirements. And what I was looking for, ideally, was an integrated platform with a single pane of glass where we could manage things like the email, the web, the CASB which is of particular interest, less so the multi-factor authentication. The biggest, it's not so much an objection. It's usually a case where clients or prospects that you talk to have already got an incumbent that's already providing them with a solution. Whether or not that's effective is questionable. So that's always a tough nut to crack. But if you can get through the door to get the questions asked and answered, then you do stand a better chance. And I have to say, from a cost point of view, Censornet is an extremely attractive proposition.
Yeah,
that's what we've always found. But beyond that, it's the support element. We did find ourselves in the early days struggling, particularly with the granularity of what Censornet can deliver. But the support was second to none, and it was delivered in a very, very timely fashion. We didn't have to wait 12 hours, 24 hours to speak to anyone. It was pretty much instant. And that also has its significant attractions and benefits.
Oh, 100%. There's a fine line between service and price, isn't there?
Yeah,
and you need to make sure that both are correct. Unfortunately, I do see patterns with other people over the years where they've chosen price over service and then been bit really hard. which is unfortunate, but it's how you learn. You have to make mistakes just to get better and stronger and get a better portfolio. David, I know you was going to say something then.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on a point Tony made, actually. Tony talked about how a lot of organizations will already have a solution in place, a vendor of choice for one of the modules that we offer as part of our consolidated platform. And that's absolutely true. It's these days it's very rare, certainly from an email perspective or from a web security perspective, that we find a greenfield site. Those technologies have been around for a long time, but what we're seeing is a huge number of customers who we're knocking out the competitors in one of these modules, for example, email security. Customers are using that technology, using the platform for email, becoming familiar with how it works and the benefits of the platform, and then absolutely moving to introduce the other modules as part of their overall security kind of offering. So we're seeing huge numbers of customers who are doing that, who are adding on additional modules because they see the benefits of this consolidated approach and the consistency when it comes to things like configuring policies, running reports across the different modules.
Yeah, and well, David and Tony, you're probably going to be like the two best. What we did before this webinar, we asked a few of our partners just to give us some feedback as to specifically what type of issues that they come up against when it comes to onboarding, not just a new product, but something like Censornet as well. And when you look at a few of these, obviously they do relay themselves into a common theme. Everybody faces the same type of problems and troubles when they are looking at anything that's new. Now, David, is there anything on there which is you can see straight away which Censornet can eliminate?
Yeah, I mean, the one bottom right, the market is so saturated that everyone seems to offer the same solutions. That's an interesting one for me, because if you look at the four core modules that make up our platform in isolation, that statement is true. There are other vendors who offer web security, there are vendors who provide email security, MFA, and there are standalone CASB players out there as well, cloud application security providers. But what we're really doing and is joining the dots. There are, we're quite unique in terms that I don't know of any other vendors out there who offer those four modules in a consolidated platform, a true single pane of glass. Now, from a kind of a management perspective and from a commercial perspective, there are all sorts of advantages, some of which we've already talked about. But for me, the biggest one is for us to be able to start joining the dots. One of the big problems that the organizations have traditionally or typically had is that they come across a security problem and they go out and purchase a security solution for that problem. And what ends up happening is that they have these networks full of lots of different products, different ways to manage these products, different vendors to manage the relationships with, and it just introduces complexity into everything. So, we own the four technologies. There are four modules on the platform. Enables us to join the dots, not just from a commercial perspective, from a technical perspective, but if you look at where we're going from a futures perspective, and we start talking about something like our autonomous security engine, this allows us really to start doing some really cool things like sharing threat information between these four modules and enabling us to automate security responses based upon that information that is shared between those four modules. That joined up approach just has always been a challenge within the security market, because vendors are really bad at sharing information. It's their intellectual knowledge, right? They don't like sharing threat information with other competitors. Because we own the technologies, we can do that, and I think we've got a big advantage going forward with regards to that.
Yeah, definitely. And Tony, from your side, when it comes to your end users, what's more important? Is it the brand that you personally are representing, or the actual module?
I think, like most of the MSPs that are on board today, we're seen as trusted advisors, and therefore it's not so much selling a specific vendor's solutions. It's selling something that we can actually deliver and support.
Yeah.
And that's something that is very straightforward with Censornet.
Yeah, and so you're selling the suite rather than the product, aren't you? You're selling the offering.
We're addressing particular pain points that
Yeah.
that clients or prospects highlight.
And would you say over the last 2 years that these pain points have grown specifically?
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely.
It's quite alarming, obviously. Like the whole security aspect now, because of the vast majority of England is now in a situation where they're working from home comfortably with no return of an office.
Yeah.
A lot of people's home environment is one hell of a lot more fragile than the work one. So what we're seeing now is products like Censornet is making that leap in order to have that introduction call before something happens. And even if, obviously, as everybody knows, there's businesses who are really struggling at the moment, not specifically MSPs, they actually aren't doing too bad. But when it comes to end users, this is the type of product which almost needs to be a must, because it's going to wipe them out if they don't. Now, Tony, obviously, from your side, like the cost of onboarding new vendors, have you had any type of product that you've looked into? At what level does it become not worth your time?
Well, I mean, we're constantly evaluating security solutions, but there's obviously a downside to that, because you I mean, you can't practically support multiple vendors and multiple platforms addressing the same particular issue. So, I mean, you have to make an educated decision based on the research you've done. Just looking at a couple of the points there, training my guys up to understand each platform's interface takes so much time. It does if you've got multiple products addressing the same thing. But again, that's one of the things that attracted me to Censornet, was the actual training that is provided.
Yeah,
and also in the sort of, it's something that you can expedite.
it is, and it's so true. And obviously, David, it's your turn in a minute. So just to re-emphasize, obviously, it is a single pane of glass platform. You can have a multiple option of products, and you can pick and choose which ones are relevant to you. I think that's the beauty of it, is the actual simplicity, but also the flexibility of adding what you want when you want when it comes to your end users. Now, obviously, the main point is, how does it work? So, David, do you want to give us a little bit of a 5-10 minute lowdown on the platform and just show us around and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to actually, could you just go back a slide, Danny? Because I just wanted to pick up on one point there. I mean, and just kind of emphasize what Tony's just mentioned there. Something we hear a lot from partners and MSPs particularly. You know, the cost of onboarding new vendors and the ability to scale up, you know, the number of customers and provide a solution for the number of customers that they have. Particularly in the small, you know, the small medium business kind of category, where it's all about, it's really volume of customers, you know, not necessarily a huge number of end users in each customer, but it's a high volume number of customers. So, you know, it's really important to have a platform that can scale up and can provide an organization like Tony's and like QBS the opportunity to, you know, manage all of these customers from a single pane of glass. You know, multi-tenancy, I guess, is what we're talking about, really simply and really effectively. So I guess that kind of nicely takes me into talking a little bit about the platform, sharing my screen and just spending a few minutes on that.
Of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you the power. Don't get too happy with it. I need it. I want it back in 10 minutes. But yeah, so hopefully you should be able to share your screen now.
Great. So let me just share that out. Hopefully we should be seeing that now. Is that good your end, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Great. So so yeah, guys, just to put it into context, this is kind of the front end to our USS platform, our unified security service. And as we've already kind of touched upon, the whole concept of this is consolidation, multiple security products. So let me just move that out of the way. So across the top here, you can see those 4 security modules, and we've talked about some of these already. So, you know, email security, 100% cloud-based email security. So delivering email hygiene via a redirection of MX records. MFA, so, you know, offering the added security of multi-factor authentication, you know, one-time passcode, to a huge number of applications and resources that customers use. And then our web security and our cloud application security. Now, whilst they're kind of independent modules, actually they're very, very complementary to each other. You know, web security tends to be a module that a lot of people are very familiar with. You know, this idea of controlling or monitoring and controlling our users' browser access, you know, what kind of web pages that they're allowed to access, you know, preventing access to malicious pages. Been around for a long time, but integrated with that very, very tightly is our cloud application security, which really takes it to the next level. And cloud application security is all about embracing these cloud applications that are all around us nowadays, you know, the likes of Dropbox, platforms such as AWS, Azure, you know, Salesforce. It's all about embracing those applications, but at the same time, ensuring that we can still secure those applications, you know. So, you know, when it comes to something like Dropbox, we can embrace it, we can allow users to use Dropbox, but because of the concerns that the organization might have with sharing certain files from within Dropbox, that's a very specific type action that we can control. We'll see a little bit more about the cloud application security in a minute or two, but ultimately, you know, these, as Danny's already mentioned, you can pick and choose. It's a little bit like an a la carte menu with regards to these modules that you license for the customer in question. Down here, we've got our what we call our account management or our multi-tenancy. So this is absolutely crucial for our partners and our MSPs, because this is the feature that allows us to deliver this platform both in the traditional reseller approach, but also, you know, a fully managed service, an MSP type approach. So you'll notice here that we have this kind of hierarchy, this branch-like structure. So what this gives us the capability to do is provision customers onto the platform under the umbrella of you as an organization. So for example, at the top here, this could be Censornet, and then under our distribution layer here, we've obviously got the guys at QBS, and then under that, we've got our reseller, an MSP layer, and then underneath that, you know, our individual resellers and MSPs can have their own individual customers. So this gives you full visibility, full control over your specific customers or partners. And the provisioning process itself, you know, onboarding that customer is really, really simple and straightforward. You know, it's a wizard-driven process. You're in full control of this. You know, you can determine where that data for that customer resides. You know, maybe they're a customer outside of the UK, so their data needs to reside somewhere else other than the UK. You know, which modules do we want to assign to that customer? You know, what is the user count that customer has? And you you know, one of the really cool features as well about this multi-tenancy is this idea of templating. So, you know, one of the points that we looked at earlier was this idea of the cost of, you know, a vendor to a particular organization, to a reseller or to an MSP. How can we minimize that cost and increase value? Well, templating is one of those things. You know, when we're provisioning, onboarding a new customer, if that's a customer that we've, you know, the profile of which we've seen before, you know, perhaps they're in the same vertical as another one of our customers, why would we necessarily want to spend all the time in configuring that customer and creating a set of rules for that customer? We already have those in you know, another customer that we provisioned, you know, 6 months ago. So using our template feature, we can do exactly that. We can basically provision a set of config across the modules based upon previous templates, you know, whether that be a specific customer or whether that be this kind of idea of a bronze, silver, gold type template, you know, maybe depending on the service level that customer has paid for, we can actually deploy a very different set of configs to those customers as part of this multi-tenancy. So that's, you know, makes it really, really simple from a provisioning process and onboarding process, but then from a day-to-day management perspective, really, really easy for you know, the parent to manage these child objects. You know, if you're an MSP and you are responsible for all of these customers under your umbrella, you want to be able to manage those customers really easily and really quickly. Okay, you don't want to have to log into multiple portals. You don't want to have to use multiple sets of credentials to access each of those customers. So, you know, we have this really, really neat feature where, you know, if I want to manage a particular customer, I can change to my list view there. I can click on products and you'll see what basically happens. We have this tabbed based approach here where now I can just flick between the rule bases and the modules for different customers. So here we can see the David T account. We've got my message rules here, my email security rules. If I click on my Tregurtha Enterprise there, they're running web security and I can access their web security rules there, configure their web security rules. You know, from a reporting perspective, it also gives me the ability to, you know, switch between those different accounts from a reporting perspective as well. So if I wanted to run a report for those guys, for the Tregurtha Enterprise account in the website of things, I can do that. If I need to run an email report for the David T account, you know, I can do that there. Really, really seamless, quick and easy to manage those individual customers. The other thing to really just talk about, you know, with regards to the multi-tenancy, and I know the QBS guys have kind of already seen the benefits of this, you know, the ability to white label this. You know, you have the ability to change the look and the feel of the interface. You know, if you want to, you can white label this on behalf of your customers and make it look and feel like you know, it's your own platform. We certainly don't have any you know, issues around that. So, you know, that's from a multi-tenancy perspective. That's the platform. From a kind of a modular perspective, I could spend all day talking about the different modules and the features and the functions that we have across the different modules. I'll be here all day. I really don't have time. But I guess, you know, one of the areas that I wanted to focus in on, because cloud, you know, is cloud application security. Cloud application security tends to be one of those areas that is a greenfield site, you know, especially in the SMB type area. You know, the SMB type customers, they are looking at having the ability to monitor and secure these cloud applications. But, you know, some of the competitors out there, some of the solutions that are out there, standalone CASB providers, you might have come across the likes of Netscope or Elastica, you know, these guys, they're offering standalone CASB solutions, which are, you know, so complicated and so far out of the budgets of the SMB type organization. The cloud application security is really hitting home in the way that we deliver it. You know, in a nutshell, if you look at what we're trying to do is, you know, we're trying to offer a very simple, easy and intuitive approach to cloud application security that the you know, the standalone CASB players just don't do. So,
and David, just to interrupt you there, we just had a couple of questions while you've been talking. So Howard has asked, do you have a sample report that you can show?
Yes, so let's just jump into my analytics here. From a reporting perspective, there's kind of a combination of you know, high level summary type reports, chart-based reports, and also the very in-depth transactional reports. So for example, you know, on the web side of things, this would be what a transactional report would look like. You know, very, very detailed, very, very forensic. You know, effectively on the website of things, it's showing us every single web transaction across my organization and all of the associated information with that. You know, where's the request come from? Who's the user that's made that request? We tie into AD so we can identify that AD username. And then over here, from a policy perspective, you know, what did we actually do? Did we allow it?
Yeah.
And then if you look at, you know, we have the opportunity to kind of combine all of these different reports into you know, executive summary type reports. So here's a really nice example of one you know, combination of different reports. There's not a huge amount of data in these reports because this is obviously a lab environment, but you know, we've got a report there that's showing the top blocked users, the top allowed users. So these are web security reports. And then, you know, what are the most popular web categories that are being browsed in the last month? And then if we move down here, we're looking at more of the CASB side of things. You know, what are the high risk applications that are being used on the network and the high risk actions as part of those applications.
Yeah.
So, you know, using these, and there we've got the email side of things, you know, the top email rules that have been triggered across my organization. So lots of flexibility when it comes to the type of report that you want to generate.
Yeah, and second question is Adrian's asked, where is services hosted?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And actually multiple locations. You know, one of the key things for us is giving the option to decide where the customer wants their data to reside and where they want their data to be processed, two very separate things. So, you know, if we go back to that provisioning process, you'll notice here that from the very outset, we can decide what region we retain that user's log data. You know, so obviously, you know, for all of those GDPR regulated organizations, UK and Europe is going to be really important, but you can see the other locations that we can retain the log data there. When we add one of these modules, the licenses for these modules, you'll also notice that we can very specifically dictate where the data is processed. So from a web security perspective, where are we going to process the web requests? If you're a UK-based customer, let's lock it down to the UK. If you're a North American organization, then, you know, we may need to knock it down to North America there.
Okay, and two more. So does this cover Azure AD or just on-premise?
So I guess the first kind of response to that is it depends on the module you're talking about. Secondly, I guess the most accurate way of kind of categorizing our platform is it's kind of a hybrid platform. You know, if you look at the email module, it's 100% cloud-based because we're just relying on a redirection of MX records, and then the front end to the email processing is this dashboard. If you look at the web security side of things or the CASB side of things, we obviously need some way to intercept the traffic from the users. So this is where we come into a more kind of hybrid type classification, because to be able to intercept that traffic, we have to deploy what we call one of our interception agents. That could be an endpoint agent directly deployed to the device, or it could be a more of a kind of server type approach. You know, we deploy a what we call a Censornet gateway to the network, and then we direct our users through that Censornet gateway. So yeah, it depends on the module really.
Yeah, just two more. They are coming thick and fast. I feel like I'm Piers Morgan now. So first one was Alistair. It says, also, is this a hardware device setting at the LAN perimeter like Whale used to do back in the day, or is there a sitting in the cloud option?
Well, just touching on the point I just made, you know, from a web security perspective or cloud application security perspective, you've got those two options. You've got either the endpoint agent approach, or you've got the gateway approach. Now, at the moment, that gateway is effectively a kind of an on-premise device. It sits on the customer network or in the data center. Going forwards, we are going to go down the route of introducing a pure play cloud type gateway that users can use or organizations can use. Yeah. So you can kind of move away from that gateway on-premise approach. But you know, these days, in my experience, most organizations are going down the endpoint agent approach because we're you know, there's no need for any you know, infrastructure on site for that endpoint agent approach.
That's fine. And the last one that we've got just before we carry on is, you know, when you was looking at where the data is stored, there was an option where it says UK and Europe. Can you choose the option which is just UK only?
Yeah, I'm sure that came from probably one of the data protection officers in the group. But yeah, absolutely. So obviously key for us going forwards is from a data processing perspective is to be able to separate out that UK and European infrastructure. So yes, going forwards, that will be the case where, you know, where we can separate out between the UK servers and the European servers. We're already in the process of doing that right now.
Okay. And when web filtering, I assume you need some form of SSL TLS interception. Will this mean installing root certificates on each endpoint, or will you sorry, someone's just typed, so it's just jumped it up. Or will this mean installing root certificates on each endpoint, or will the install agent take care of everything?
Nice question, really nice question. So we're getting into the real nuts and bolts now. So again, going back to the point I made, endpoint agents and gateways. The really cool thing about the endpoint agent, guys, is that absolutely both options support SSL intercept. The endpoint agent automatically generates and deploys that SSL certificate to the user. So out of the box, it's ready to go for SSL interception. The gateway approach, yep, you do have to download a certificate from the gateway and install that via the certificate store in the traditional way that all of the guys on the call will be familiar with. But it's one of the advantages of the endpoint agent approach is that is all taken care of.
Okay. And the timescales for that to be completed, I think it's referring to the data, you know, the UK and Europe.
Well, we've got a pretty aggressive timeline in terms of that for end of the year. So yeah, that's the date that you know we need to make sure that that's in place by.
No problem. I think that's all questions at the moment. Don't worry, guys, by the way. We'll be able to have as many one-on-ones as you want when it comes to getting any time that you need with David, any demos. We'll also be able to give you any trials, which I'll tell you at the end, as well as pricing. So don't worry, you don't have to squeeze everything in. We can take our time with this. So David, is there anything else that you just quickly want to show just before I take it over?
Well, very quickly, 2 minutes, because I started to talk about cloud application security. All I wanted to do was give the guys an illustration of one of the applications in our catalog. So, guys, just going back to the point I was making about embracing these applications, but still securing the use of them. So you can see here, basically, we profile each of these applications. And that enables us to do things. It first of all enables us to monitor any of these activities or actions that are taking place within the specific application, but it also gives us that very, very granular control to enforce these actions or control these actions. So we're in a situation where, you know, if we've got a third-party organization who sends us links for Dropbox to download files from Dropbox, we can allow downloads from Dropbox. But if we have concerns about my own users uploading corporate sensitive files to a personal Dropbox account, you know, I can still control that. I can still block the ability to upload files. So this kind of granular capability that the cloud application controls really takes the web security to the next level.
Brilliant. Oh, last one. Sorry, just one more question for you. The timescale. Sorry. So, how about mobile devices? So iOS and Android.
Yep. So, in terms of mobile devices, 5-10 minutes ago, I talked about that cloud gateway approach. That's one of the ways that is going to help us address, iOS devices, Android devices. If you look at what we do at the moment, we generally talk about VPNs from those kind of devices back to a gateway that's sitting on a corporate network. We understand that is not the most efficient, effective way of doing it for mobile devices that are off the network. So yeah, going forwards, that cloud gateway that will be able to, organizations or users will directly be able to point to is really important.
Brilliant. Are you okay to give me control again?
Absolutely. Let me stop sharing. And
you've had your power now. I'm taking it back.
There we go. So let's just
hopefully
make host. There you go.
Can you see my screen now, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good from me. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so so there is a reason why obviously so many people are teaming up. It's more evident now than ever before. The simpler the tool, the easier it is. That easier your life will be on a day-to-day basis. Now, Tony, I know you've been quiet for a little bit, but like, can you just re-emphasize how important it is that something like Censornet is a key factor for you? You know, when it comes to not getting too overwhelmed, not choosing a product that's too complicated. Like, what do you experience basically?
Well, there's always a degree of complexity when it comes to security solutions. I just want to reiterate what I said earlier about the support. Yeah. And the fact is, yes, there are always complexities with any technology, but this is an integrated platform with the 4 different technologies and ASE as it's rolled out. If you've got that support there, then you've got no reason to fear it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree anymore. And obviously, when it comes to the products, like Tony, you've highlighted straight away that you can have the ability to obviously portray these and sell these to your customers. I know web security is something that's big for you as well. Do you wait for the customers to contact you when it comes to buying them, or do you be a little bit more proactive and try and
we're more proactive? Again, that's one thing that hasn't really been highlighted, the marketing collateral and marketing support you get from Censornet, but that's probably for another conversation. There are elements of this, and specifically CASB, which if you really need something to be able to take to market that is pretty much not deployed through the SME space. There obviously will be areas where it is, but as an introduction, CASB is an ideal solution.
Yeah,
because it is exceptional.
And then from there, you can lean on that to cross-sell other opportunities into
Absolutely.
the same customer base. Yeah,
Yep.
That's like, we've obviously had Censornet for a little while now, and that's exactly the pattern that we see with our customers. They lean particularly on one product, and then all of a sudden it opens up the avenues into to generate other products as well. Now, one of the things, obviously, David, you've reiterated it so many times now. Why Censornet, basically, in a nutshell? Why Censornet over competitive products specifically?
Yeah, so, you know, if you look at each of the modules in isolation, you know, we stand up against the some of the main players out there, guys. You know, if you were to ask our sales guys and you know, the partners that we're working with, QBS, we are on a daily basis winning deals from an email perspective against the likes of Mimecast, you know, Proofpoint, those guys. Okay, absolutely stand toe to toe from an individual module perspective. The real strength, though, and I keep re-emphasizing this point, but the real strength of our solution, particularly for the SMB market, is the overall platform, this ability to consolidate the multiple security modules into this single pane of glass. It's a USP. There are no other security vendors that offer those 4 specific modules in a single pane of glass. Okay, yeah. Absolutely, it's a USP. And you know, we know that customers are not necessarily going to purchase all 4 modules right from the get-go. Okay, let's be realistic about things. But you know, as one of the slides at the top of the presentation mentioned, it's that foot in the door. You know, once we've got a customer on email security, it becomes really simple and straightforward to add and apply those additional modules, licenses to that customer for the other technologies. And from a customer perspective, you know, they love it, you know, because they already know how the email policy engine works, how the way that you create rules, the way that you create the rules in the web security or the CASB, pretty much identical. The components, the building blocks are pretty much identical. So, you know, you can get, you know, up and running with an additional module very quickly indeed. Yeah.
And that, I think that's the real niche about this product, especially Censornet, is because you can pick and choose the route in which you want to take. So obviously with Tony, he highlights straight away that CASB and web security is something that he leans on quite heavily. We've got other partners as well who focus on the email side of things. There's no right or wrong way to this. You can find a niche in which your customer base is best suited and best adapted, and then just lean on that so heavily to give you that platform to cross-sell into the other avenues. Tony, obviously, is there anything else at all that, I know, like, I'm curious of time now, so I'm going to start closing up, but is there anything else that you want to potentially give any advice to our other MSPs about what you experience or what they could be cropped up against?
No, not really. I know that one of the particular pain points is trying to review and trial a lot of these products. I think you just have to bite the bullet and go with a solution that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, it's all about planting the seed. So having that opportunity to get your customers to take the leap, trusting your obviously your expertise, and be proactive. We live in a world now which is more important than ever to be proactive rather than reactive because of COVID. If you can actually highlight to your customer why this type of product is needed before, let's say, things go wrong, then it just adds that extra ability for you to obviously be completely safe in this industry, completely safe in the market. You've already sold God knows how many different products on your portfolio. So Censornet could give you one of 4 more options to do so. Now, any questions we have got, like I said, guys, we can do demos for anybody who wants them. We can make them as granular or as basic as you need them. We can have as many one-to-ones as you need with David, myself, and also Peter, who's one of the reps from Censornet too. And we can make sure everything's sorted. But the final thing, thank you so much for staying on. We will be able to generate trials for you, but the main thing is anybody who has been part of this webinar will receive, instead of 15% discount off the RRP, which I'll show you and send you at some point soon, very soon, you'll actually receive 30% off instead of 15. Now, the good news is the deadline for this 30% off is not up until the end of January. So you've got plenty of time to trial the product, try and break it, ask all the help and advice you need from the likes of me, David, and Tony as well. He's there if you need him. And we will be able to help you have faith in this product over the Christmas period so that come 2020, you're up and running and smashing it. So we will, after this webinar, send out details thanking you for attending. We'll have a link in there regarding trials. So remember, you only have to fill out the one because it'll come with all 4. And you will receive the 30% off for any orders that are placed. So I have got a couple of questions just before we close it because we are a few minutes early. Adrian has asked if an NFR is available, David.
Yeah, absolutely. So that they are available for use. So I guess if that's something the guys are interested in, then come through to you, Danny, and you can work with them.
Absolutely fine, guys. Yeah, so NFRs are available. The way it works with Censornet is that an NFR is given and provided for 12 months, and then basically, as long as orders are being placed, then it will remain that way for the future years ahead. But that's something that we can easily have a chat about. Give me a call. We will get information so you can speak to me. And yeah, apart from that, guys, Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being our MSP. What's the word? MSP expert? I don't know. What would you class it?
I really don't like the word expert.
Okay, what would you class yourself as?
Experienced.
I like that. No, thank you so much. Your insight does give a lot of our partners a lot of advice and tips and tricks just to understand exactly that somebody else is done the journey that they're probably about to do. And it just gives them a little bit of confidence knowing that there's people already leading with this type of product in the front. Sure. David, thank you so much as well. Likewise, we're probably going to call on you for quite a few little calls, so I hope your calendar's free. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Apart from that, stay safe. I hate that now. You have to say that after every call, but it's true. But stay safe, look after yourself, and we will catch up soon, and I will be in touch with you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.